Round number 3 of RCI's Porsche Cup Season 5, live here from sunny Barcelona in Spain. Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 3, I should say, of the championship. I'm Jesse Lee. I can't read and talk at the same time. Joined by Dan Van Zut for this week, with Stewie behind the cameras as per usual. Dan, we were here last season for the Porsche Cup and also the M2 Championship as well. This racetrack, more than most others, frustrates racing drivers here in ACC, and with tight confines but decent temperatures, you're left to wonder what you may expect today. Welcome in, Dan. How do you like Barcelona, first of all?
I like Barcelona very much, especially because, well, it's really attractive as everything. We're coming onto a pretty tight hairpin. You got some overtaking opportunities, but overall, it's quite a flowing track. So, as you say, Jesse, it probably will frustrate some drivers in the race, which we probably have a lot of drivers. Speaking of numbers, I watched the first race here at Paul Ricard. I think we had some 41 cars, which is amazing to see, and I think it's quite the same around this level. Barcelona, it's such a competitive track. The Porsche Cup is such a competitive car. I think we're going to see some really good racing, but first, of course, we have qualifying.
Yeah, of course we do. Qualifying underway, and here's an onboard lap. This will be a timed lap, potentially the first from the 197 Just Gamers car of Jordan Daly. Going down into Elf, that's turn number 1. It's easy to mess up your break-ins on here and go wide, and it throws off this entire complex. Then it's a fast left-hander, and then Renault, a sort of sweeping right-hander that's almost unsighted until the very end. You can run out pretty wide here without invalidating, and that's exactly what you're going to see here out of Daly into Repsol. Repsol is a hairpin unlike any other. They'll get 2 and 3 wide, maybe 4 wide here in the opening couple of laps of the race. And down the Saint in the downhill hairpin, going back the opposite direction. Don't want to get all the way on that curve, but you want to get a clean run out all the way down the hill, roller coaster style, down to Worth, which is a deceiving left-hander uphill that sort of widens out a little bit before you get to Kamsa. Kamsa, a corner where you can set people up and even get passes done in before you end the long sort of back straight into Lacoxia. And this is the turn that I think most people are going to mess up the most, going incredibly wide. You want to get the car really woed down. A couple of extra maneuvers there to make sure the car stays online through Bank Sabadell. And as we go to Europe car, of course, a lot of the turns sponsored here at Barcelona. Of course, got to avoid the sausage curbs, and this is going to be another problem area right here. The chicane. Cars are going to outbrake themselves, get into trouble. Some of them are going to go a little bit too deep, some are going to go a little bit too shallow. Now New Holland, the final turn onto the pit straight, easy to invalidate through the final corner. Daly hasn't done anything like that. It's a 147, 275, immediately beat by the board man himself, Andy Boardman, a 46.832. Marco Badowski slots in to P2 for the time being as more times are set. It's a deceptive track, isn't it, Dan? It's wide. It looks like you can take just about every line around here, but we know better than that. This is really a one-line racetrack if you're trying to hit lap time.
Yeah, definitely, and especially in some corners like with which, if you want to run a bit wide, it will absolutely bite your lap and probably invalidate it as well. Like this one, like the chicane one, it's an incredible hard track, as you say. There's only really one line to go with, and if you don't know that yet, if you don't have the experience on this track, it's probably going to come and bite you in qualifying, and if it's not in qualifying, probably later on in the race. And that makes it a really fun combo as Raphael Hill goes to the top with a 146.6. Great lap there by Hill. But yeah, it makes such a great combo, this Porsche with such a great track. The Porsche, it's not an easy beast to handle. The Porsche GT3, the normal GT3, is already difficult, but the Porsche Cup car is even more difficult. We saw it with Daly earlier in his lap. The rear end likes to come loose from time to time, and the front end can't help you with understeer from time to time either. So that makes it really challenging for these cars to put on a good qualifying lap, if I dare say maybe even a valid qualifying lap, because again, Barcelona is quite sensitive for invalidation, especially at corners like at the exit of Renault, or maybe at the entry of Repsol, where you want to get the most of that track. And so it's going to be, we're going to see when drivers are going to optimize their lap, because it's difficult to do that in the first bit. And if you haven't done that in the first stage of qualifying, then you're probably going to put pressure on yourself in the second stage of qualifying, Jesse.
Lindgren comes in P2. They'll sit themselves on the front row. Jordan Daly's already came back through and improved massively, nearly 0.3 of an improvement for Daly. Puts him into third. Nito now in fourth place. Boardman rounds out your top five. Badowski, Howling, Caladian, excuse me. We're in Catalonia, but that's Caladian on the racetrack, with Jackson in ninth place and Imoplata rounding out the top 10 for the moment. This racetrack, it's had some modifications over the years, and I know a lot of people don't particularly appreciate the version of this racetrack with the RACC chicane that we're going through right now, but this particular variant of the racetrack, 4.67 kilometers around, or 2.9 miles if you prefer your measurements in old world measurements. Of course, it's not the longest racetrack, but because of the pace of the lap and the amount of times you have to slow the car up, a couple of hairpins, 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them actually on this racetrack, I've just realized, it takes quite a while to get around here in these cars. Keep in mind, these Porsche Cups, this is the 992 Porsche Cup, not the 991, so this is the updated version. Drivers typically don't complain about this car a whole lot in terms of grip and responsiveness. It's a lot better as far as drivability versus the 991. So you don't hear a lot of complaints. Most of the complaints today are going to be about the racetrack, and our broadcaster, prior to going live today, had the opposite of a complaint. He gave praise for the weather conditions afforded to us today. 27 degrees C on the track, 23 ambient. Beautiful day for racing. And the reason that our broadcaster, Stewie, likes that, he's a race car driver. He likes it when the temperatures are within a window for optimal drivability on the tires. So the not too cold, not too hot, looking pretty good. Shouldn't have a whole host of issues with that today.
It's always a challenge around Barcelona. I mean, we know Spain. Spain is quite known for a to be a hot country, but we're racing in virtual Spain, so the temperatures will probably be in an optimal window as they seem to be right now. Jordan Daly currently driving in P6, 4/10 shy from pole position. Last time around in round 2, it was Rafael Hill who took pole position at, let me see, the Hungaroring. It was indeed, followed by Martin Lorenk. Jordan Daly just finishing, well, not finishing off his lap, returning to pit lane, not happy with their current lap, and so he goes out again. Miguel Neto, the Portuguese, on third position, 3/10 behind Rafael Hill. Marco Badowski fourth, and Jordan Daly rounded out the top 5 with a gap of 4/10 to P1. It's a bit closer now, I think. So I'm curious to see what the gaps will be today, if it's going to be even closer. In some, well, especially in my days from Gran Turismo, which is of course a completely other game. But I think Barcelona in general, in GT racing as well, it's kind of known for being a quote-unquote POP track, which I presume is going to be close just because of that. Compared with Brazil, Thomas Novak goes really wide there and invalidates his lap and will probably return to pit lane again. But yeah, it's going to be a close racetrack, not only for qualifying but also for racing as well.
Speaking of Martin Lawrence, who sits above the championship standings, we'll bring you that at the conclusion of qualifying today. Haven't seen him feature on the racetrack yet. I do see him down the pit lane, confirmed by Matt Malcolm, who is, I believe, in the race today as well. But he's down there in the pit lane, and he is 34th. We had 33 cars when we came live. We now have 34. Martin just hustling his way home from work this evening to get back on the racetrack and potentially defend. He is working on something special. 2 rounds, 2 wins thus far, Dan. Looking for that three-peat. How realistic is it to get that three-peat out here today? He seemed unrivaled thus far, but this is a whole nother ball game here in Spain.
Yeah, and so much can go wrong. But you know, third time lucky, maybe not for Martin Loreng, maybe for Rafael Hill, but he's done it twice. Who says he can't do it a third time again? But like I said in my previous argument, Barcelona is going to be a close track, and there isn't like as much as dirty air on these Porsches, like let's say an F1 car or a GTP car. So following each other closely, which we've seen in the previous races, is definitely something to be considered if you are on pole position or in the top three. Because even though you're not on pole, you will have a really good chance of winning the race. But if Martin Loreng can stay consistent, grab that pole position, then you know he might. Let's see, it's going to be exciting either way, especially because Martin Loreng hasn't set a great lap or even no lap at all. Andy Birdman goes to second. The Britishman improved on his qualifying time, probably wants to do some laps more, and again, track is improving, fuel is getting lower, tires will maybe get hotter, but we'll see where this qualifying ends. 3 minutes and 18 seconds to go, and it's really close at the top. 1/1000th of a second to Andy Portman to pole position, and just shy of 1/10 is third position Neto on pole position.
Gonna be a close one, like you said. Qualifying's already shaken out that way, and we've never been able to fully pin down by Barcelona, which is a relatively large track. It's nearly 3 miles around. Why it always shapes up like that, I think it's simply because it is a one-groove racetrack when it comes down to qualifying, when it comes down to setting really quick laps here. And when you're in identical cars, they may be set up differently, of course, but even still, it just lends itself to being incredibly close. And I'm saying that we only got 14 drivers within a second, but that's because everybody in one class, no classes here today except the class, and everybody racing amongst themselves. Martin Lawrence still looking to get on the board. This is atypical for the Czech driver. They set laps late in quali, usually very high up on the board, usually after invalidating a couple, and usually after showing up to qualifying ever so slightly late as well. So here he comes around the back part of the circuit through the RACC chicane. We'll see just how quick of a lap, where this will put him. He'll get maybe 2 more laps if he's lucky. He may only get the 1. We'll see when he crosses the line. Oh, he may get 2 laps out of this. It was a 146, but it was invalid to further my point.
Ooh.
But he may just get 2 more.
I think he will get 2 more, but this adds the pressure for Martin Loreng, because if you invalidate your next lap or get traffic on the second lap, like Martin Loreng's narrowly avoiding a Porsche quite well in the way there, but if you invalidate your lap or again you get traffic, then the pressure will be on for Martin Loreng to get a good lap. He's getting traffic from the car behind, and this will of the car in front, which will not help him at all for this qualifying lap. He's probably, yeah, he probably is screaming.
And he won't get another lap, Dan. He won't get another lap like this. He crossed the line with about 1 second to 2 seconds to spare, and that's done him. He won't get another lap.
Yeah, he needs to just put a lap on the board. Maybe it will be enough for a top 10 if he's lucky, maybe a P15, but this is going to be a challenge, which makes it all the more exciting for this race, because we might see a charge through the back for Martin Loreng, but qualifying isn't done yet. He's rounding off his second sector, going into the third sector now. See what he can do with that third sector. It's always going to be tricky. The last bit, you can lose the car on the entry of Bank Sabadell. You can lose the car or outbrake yourself in the RACC chicane. And yeah, let's see what Martin Loreng will do if he's able to get another lap. He has 14 seconds on the clock right now. It might be 10 seconds. It's going to be very, very close. But like Jesse says,
put a fork in him. He's done.
He's done. Is he though?
Yeah. Oh, is he? No, he got there! Martin Lawrence got there! Proving that I can't do math to save my life. He got there! there. He's going to get another one, and he set the third quickest lap of the day. It's a 46.2. He needs a 46.1 and a low one at that to topple Carlos Caladian and Miguel Nito for Phoenix Racing off of the front row, and he's going to have to get it on this lap. What will be the rebuttal from Miguel Nito? I'm sorry, I'm yelling. I'm just so excited that he somehow was held up on that lap, still ran a good time, and he gets another lap. Carlos Caladian and Nito didn't want to see that, but it is neither here, makes no difference. Miguel Nito coming to the line. Is it an improvement for them? It is, but it isn't enough. He improves by 4/100ths of a second, but stays P2.
Yeah, Carlos Calatayud on his home ground improves just a bit, but is it enough to keep Martin Loring behind? Because he is coming, I think, through this the third sector now, and it's going to be very close. Yes, again, to that third sector and finishing off that second sector into the heavy braking zone. Need to get your braking point spot on, otherwise you will understeer, maybe even oversteer on the exit. If you're unlucky, need to get it pointed into the right direction here. Martin Loring needs to have a great exit out of that corner and then again into the RACC chicane. He did it with traffic on the last lap. He might be able to grab pole position with a completely clean lap coming down on New Holland now. Out of New Holland, will Martin Loring be able to get that pole position like he's done in the previous two races? Yes, he will! With a 46.002, just shy of a 45. That was an insane qualification with a nerve-wracking Martin Loring, Jesse.
I can't believe, actually that's a lie, I can totally believe what we just saw. Last car, last chance qualifier. Martin Lawrence gets it done, 46.002. And that is your pole position over Caladian, who will share the front row, who had the third fastest sector. Nito had the first fastest sector of all. And then you got to go all the way back to Daly in 6th for the middle sector. But it's Lawrence, Caladian, Nito, Huell, Boardman, the top 5. Daly, Badowski, Plata, Lindgren forced the top 10. And the list does go on. 34 cars taken qualifying here today. And what a finish it was. You know, Martin's won this race, or Martin's won one of these, won the Hungarian round without having the pole position. But now he's got 2 out of the 3 on the day. And this is why it's such a big deal. Here are the championship standings after 2 rounds. Martin Lawrence has won both of them for Connection Lost Racing, and he sets at 137 points over Rafael Huell, who is one of the favorites of the championship and has certainly kept Martin honest this entire time thus far, and certainly looks to continue that today. 120 for the German. Marco Badowski in 3rd place, 93. Andy Boardman on 85. Miguel Nito with 81. Your top 5. Gregor Forst on 63. Christian Lindgren, the first of the Swedes, with 59. Johan Leffe with 51. McBob on 49 points. Miguel Martins rounds out your top 10, 48.
The Dutchman in P11 then has 44 points on his name. Juraj Cevencek with 40 points, trailing on exactly the same points, the Portuguese of Gaomanso. Lee Stevenson then in P14, chased by Jordan Daly with 34 points. Mike Redford and Tibor Roskam both share the same amount of points, again 33 points. The Swede Niklas Nordqvist in the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car again has the same amount of points, very close top 20 here. And Grim Lilith chasing down Nordqvist in P19. Andreas Carlsen rounds off the top 20 with 27 points.
Pages do go on. 40-some cars. Sebastian Brunier, a familiar name, 26 points in 21st place. Olivier Kierton in 22nd with 25. Ted Edwards has 24. Rob Franken on 21. And Tom Shipston rounds out the top 25, tied with Reese Wilkinson with 19. In 27th place, Ollie Mulder with 18. Peter Varga has 13. Jake Howling on 11. And Matthias Byron in 30th place with 9 points.
The list does go on. Our own Kevin Boss is in P31 with 7 points, tied to Peter Lundqvist, also with 7 points. James Purchase, the Englishman, down in P33 with 4 points. Aaron Jackson in P34 with 7 points, tied with Philip Riha. Alfons Lundqvist, a lot of Swedish drivers in this competition, with 2 points. Ross Kusik with 1 point. Callum Carrigan, the Britishman, has only 1 point to his name, and both Thomas Novak and Hubert Hauser has 0 points to their name.
I think we're going to get one more page here, and we do. A lot of mid-season signups and drivers that have not gained a point. Remember, only the top 30 can gain championship points. Marco Lopez, Filippo Berno Teixeira, Martin Foster. Jack is on there as well. Wait, Jack's in this series? Racers here. Steve Hughes, Carlos Caladiad, not Catalunya, are all alive in this championship that they have 0 points. You got to finish inside the top 30 to get points. Some of these are mid-season signups as well. Anyone with a dash like Matthias Thornberg has retired from the championship, and that will do it. That is our long standings. 34 cars on the grid today. Some new faces, of course, but it's all the same up at the front down. It is Rafael Huel versus Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, it really is, and it's going to be interesting. Martin Lawrence, excuse me, is of course in P1. He has won both races. Again, who says he can't do it again? This is going to be probably either a turning point or a point for Martin Lawrence where he will move further away out of in championship contention, moving Rafael Hull further out of championship contention, because if it goes on like this, then I'm pretty sure, not to spoil it, Martin Lawrence has a pretty good chance for a championship. Of course, if I'm not mistaken, if he wins this round and Rafael Hull would win all the other, but he will still stay second. They equal points, so it's going to be tough for Rafael Hull if Martin Lawrence wins this race to win the championship on its own. But you know, it's the Porsche Cup Series. We're driving around Barcelona. We're all driving with humans, no AI involved. Everyone can make mistakes. So can Martin Lawrence. So you know, we might see a turning point in this championship. Who knows? We're going to find out very soon.
I gotta ask, did you make that comment based on what happened at Suzuka over the weekend? Did you see some of that? Is that what that was based on?
No. But
oh dear. Well, AI racing need to go back to the debug portion of that one a little bit.
Oh, did a bit. That's yeah.
I like my race car. I may be old-fashioned. I like my race cars with a human element involved. That's what makes racing interesting, is the machines and the people that choose to drive them. Nicole Fox joined us in chat, commenting on qualifying results. Carlos Caladiad has heard me mispronounce his name a few times. Sorry, Carlos. I do apologize for that. But Nicole, what are you doing? Why aren't you on the racetrack? I reckon you could win one of these. Good. Love to see you back on the racetrack sometime soon. Hope you're all well wherever you are in the world. Jesse Lee, Dan Van Zutphen, and Stewie bringing you all the pictures and descriptions of round 3 here of the Porsche Cup Season 5 here on RCI TV. We're glad to have you with us, and we are about to kick this off. No drop round in this championship. This is going to be a straight-up fight today. A pit stop somewhere in the middle, but no drop round of the championship. So one bad finish, Dan, can doom you for an entire season, and probably will, considering how big the field still is.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you know, when you have a 20 championship car, the car championship, and you know, you go to P1, you at least pick up some points. But like we saw in the overall standings, it's so hard to even get a point with more than 40 cars in the first and second race, and 33 cars in the first race. So yes, as you say, one bad race can totally doom your championship. Not only for Martin Laurent, not only for Rafael Hull or the other championship contenders, but for everyone else in the midfield as well. We're almost going to start. I say, Jesse, you take it away.
Well, here we go. It's a 1-hour race, a pit stop required, and 1 liter of fuel, as far as I know, is all you have to take on board. But you got to do it inside the pit window, and that's a tale for a later time. The story of the championship is the story of the race. It is Rafael Huell versus Martin Lawrence, the German versus the Czech, going head-to-head. But can Miguel Nito, can some of the other drivers like Carlos Colladi have anything to say about it? We are green in Catalonia, and it's a clean getaway for Martin Lawrence out in front. There's contact. Big accident going down into turn 1. This could be ugly. This could be a restart if it continues, and it might be. 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 cars involved, and that's almost certainly going to be a restart. The majority of the field involved, and we'll see, but that was absolutely nasty. It started from about the 5th row back, and only a few cars have survived as everybody pulling off of the racetrack, and it has certainly been called by the stewards department that we will have a race restart. That was as nasty as it possibly could have been, Dan.
Wow, there was I can't say it better. Yes, that was very nasty. I'm very curious what we're going to see from the stewards there, but I don't know if we can get a replay of it. I'm not sure, but that was really nasty. I haven't seen such a bad crash in esports racing in a very long time.
That was bad.
I mean, a restart is completely fair. In real conditions, this would have been red flagged immediately, and so I think a restart is well on its place. We do have to wait 4 minutes and 20 seconds again for the race gets underway, Jesse.
Well, I'm going to agree with Lou in chat that just said, summed it up pretty well. Holy hell. Yeah, agreed. That was about as bad as that was ever going to be. It seemed like about the 5th row back, the incident started. One car got forced off into the dirt. It tried to pull back onto the racetrack, and all hell literally broke loose. The majority of the field. We do have procedures in place for that exact thing. It's been more than 6 months, Dan, since we've had a race restart. It's very, very rare. We get a couple of them a year, but that is one of the worst I've ever seen. So how does the race restart in RCI work? If the majority of the field are involved in a lap 1 incident, not necessarily the same incident, but a lap 1 incident, there is the possibility that stewards or the event manager on call, or even us here in the booth, if we're the last resort, can call an official restart. That goes through that chain of command. We have live stewarding, of course. Anything that happens in that initial start is still subject to live stewarding. It's not forgotten in the eyes of the stewards. They're in control. They called the restart, quite rightly so, as well. That's put them back on the grid. They will now have to sift through what caused that big incident and determine if anybody or any specific thing was at fault or if it was just a racing incident. But now we go back to the grid. There's another 5 minutes timer, and we will go on another pace lap, and we'll try that again. If it goes wrong this time, though, there is no subsequent restart. You get one shot. Spider-Man rules. Everybody gets one. This is their one. And if they can't sort it out this time, they're going to have to live with the result.
Yeah, that would be. I don't doubt RCI has ever got such a scenario. But let's hope we don't get one today. That would be quite horrible for the people involved in that second incident. As Stewie is viewing us here, the beautiful scenery of the inside and outside of the circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Lovely. We see so much liveries these past RCI competitions, and it's great to see more liveries coming, more and more. It's amazing. I see a lot of colors today. Blue, red. I see a lot of red. I see some black in here as well, some gray, some yellow and red. Lovely. Love the aspect of liveries in virtual racing games overall, Jesse.
Yeah, indeed. Custom liveries, we have them here. You can paint your own car up as long as it's adheres to the livery guidelines, obviously, that we have set out. A lot of teams electing to use that. A lot of teams also electing to in sim liveries as well, put their own touches on the cars. That indeed. Everybody back on the grid. Now, time to think about it. I've never had a race in ACC that required a race restart. So I have no notebook on what that must feel like. But if you are Martin Lawrence, certainly you're thinking, well, that was about as good of a start as I could have ever gotten. Was two
Yeah.
car lengths clear by the time they got under the flag stand, and that was looking real good up Renault for the first time. Now you got to focus. If you're him, how do you do that? But it seemed like a poor restart from Carlos Caladia. Dan, what do you do with that information now? Obviously, you got to be more up on the wheel or something to stay with him.
Yeah, I mean, for the leader, he will obviously try and do the same, but it's of course, it's not like it's not like the leader dictates when to go green. For in iRacing, for example, you get a pop-up with a green light message in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and that's when everyone goes green, and so it's based on your reaction times, really, like somebody pulls out of a safety car, but everyone can react at the same time, if that's not confusing. So just basically simply react faster to the green light given to you. And Martin Laurent did it spot on. Carlos Colitiot, oh, I think we have no, we don't have a replay yet. This is the out lap, the warm-up lap, but yeah, it's just your reaction time. So for the Spaniards, Carlos Calatiu just probably has to have a better reaction time, tuck into that slipstream of Martin Lorex or the side draft, and try it on the outside, inside. Lots of possibilities here in the first corner. But yeah, reaction is all that it comes down to.
Well, Callum Kerrigan, who isn't in the race today, has elected to sit this one out and probably thinks himself quite a smart individual right about now for not being in that for today. Seb Brunier joining us, chiming in as well in the interim, leaving his opinions, and Chaplin kind of echoing my thoughts. Stewart's in for another long one. Feels bad, man. I think what's going to happen as a steward myself is they will determine what caused it, and everything else will likely be let go, providing they can prove that it was not negligent that caused additional contacts. They'll look at that, but all the cars that had literally nowhere to go when the track was blocked, which is what eventually happened, you can't fault them if there's nowhere to go. If there's no racetrack to race on, you can't really do anything with that. So the bulk of that will be forgotten and forgiven. It's the initial contact in any bad actors that they will have to deal with, but they will have to deal with that at a later date or a later time, because we still have an hour's race to go here today. And they will certainly, if they have time, look at that in the interim. If they don't have time, it'll be something that's done post-race for sure. So the original start under review from the stewards. It is not forgotten about, but for right now, the focus will be on this start. They've already used their mulligan for the day. I call it the Spider-Man rule. Everybody gets one reset. And now we're going to go racing again. Martin's going to look to have that same start. Carlos Caladia's going to hope that he has a lot better start. Rafael Huel did a pretty good job of getting away on the line as well. But from about the fourth or fifth row is where the calamity started. Eventually, the track was completely blocked. The last thing you wanted to see, if you were one of the lead group, was that incident, or was it the restart, the red flag, essentially, because it was such a good start, good clean start for the first couple of rows. But everybody else, though, of course, the vast majority, happy that they were able to get away. Dan, I took the first one and it was bad luck. How about you take the start this time? Maybe we'll have better luck.
I was waiting for it. You know, some drivers hate it, some drivers love it. Getting 2 starts in one race. You'll see it in F1 sometimes. You see it also in RCI sometimes. Who has the better start this time? Will it be P1 Martin Lorenk? Will it be Carlos Caletti, the home hero here? The green flag is almost upon us as the cars drive away. Andy Boardman already has a drive-through for probably a start infringement. But now Carlos Caletti does have a better start. He is alongside Martin Lorenk drunk? When can you be on the brakes? When can you be the latest on the brakes for the Spaniard? Is also all kicking off on the midfield. Oh, and there goes Rafael Hull on the inside of Carlos Coletti, who then overtakes him as well, going into turn 3 there. And again, it's all kicking off in the midfield. We have a great battle for P5, P4 and P6 there. And again, the P2 are going side by side into turn 4. They're too wide, like Jesse expected it to be for earlier in this qualifying session. And I think it's Carlos Coletti who has P2 indeed, and that's extremely good for his championship battles. And now everyone rages down to turn 5, 3 wide in the midfield, and trying to gain some positions, trying to not lose some position as we go still side by side. No incidents, almost somebody running wide there into turn 6, that is, but we've seen a relatively clean start, Jesse.
Yeah, very interesting start, because normally after you have a restart, people are a little bit more tentative. Don't worry about the styrofoam barriers going away. That was always going to happen off of Campsa, so don't worry about that so much. But normally they're a little bit more gun shy, but that wasn't what happened right there. They were still 4 wide into turn 1 Elf, and they were still 3 wide into Repsol the first half, the hairpin. And there's been a couple of incidents. The 999's been involved in one that happened in the middle of the lap. Now the 11's turned around. We've seen a couple of cars get spun, but nowhere near the capacity or severity of the earlier incidents. Cars getting pinged around, bounced around, and losing traction, and they're so close. They're getting into each other. But Andy Boardman did indeed get a start infraction out of position on the initial start of the race, and that will be something that they have 3 laps to serve. I don't think that's going to be taken away from them unless I'm very much mistaken. But the mid-pack, still a very good fight going on here. Miguel Martins trying their very best with Aaron Jackson for Kaiju Racing. They're going to be a couple of cars side by side, 3 wide, in fact, as they go up to Renault this time. We'll get back down to 2 wide, but open opportunity looking down the inside for a couple of the cars here. Think about Roscom and Peter Varga just looking to make a move down the inside, thinks better of it, and now just sort of shifting their lines, trying to get a better run through the corner. The 71 of Novak, by the way, started from the pit lane. Was that a strategic decision? I would imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, it would have paid out very good for him if we didn't restart that last race. If he already started in pit lane. That's a
Ted,
yeah,
Edwards.
That is Ted Edwards. Yeah, indeed, the 8 car of Ted Edwards. I was looking at my other screen. I really do have no idea what happened there, but there was a weird incident for Ted Edwards. Really unfortunate for Ted Edwards there, as we can see.
It's a big one. It's a big one in the background. Think about Roscom and Peter Varga. Varga very nearly loses it, gets into the door of Roscom. That's similar to what happened to Ted. Ted got a little loose off the corner trying to put the power down. Car got into the back of him, and it was all over, but a little bit better this time, just straight into the door, T-bone style there. Peter Varga into Roscom, but they somehow save it and keep going. Andy Boardman does come in. He's going to forfeit a top 10 spot. Going to go all the way to the back of this field after serving a drive-through penalty for being out of start, or out of position on the start. Going to go from about 6th place all the way back to 34th. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah, and that's what racing can be. Racing can be brutal, and it will be brutal if you just make a tiny mistake. If it's on the start, if it's on the last lap. But of course, this tiny mistake is a really, it's a really heavy penalty. And you know, he will taste the result of the little mistake not given by our live stewarding, decided by the automatic ACC system, penalty system. Maybe he was a bit too much up front. Maybe he was speeding too much in the 60-kilometer phase, starting phase of Assetto Corsa Competizione. But yeah. It happens, drive-throughs, and it's going to be a bitter race for him. But he's at the back end of the field now, and we have 33 cars driving around this very well, it's not really a narrow track, but at the same time it is here on Circuit de Catalunya. See if he maybe can claw back into the field here. Carlos Calatayud is absolutely at the rear of Martin Lorenk. Rafael Hull chasing by 1.4 seconds here. Spoken of Germans, Marco Badowski trying to get one down the inside in chicane. Thinks better of it. We have someone going wide there in chicane, or well, cutting the track. That was not Thibaut Roskam. I think that was our Aaron Jackson, possibly. Peter Varga currently for Team Monkey Racing, trying to maybe gain some positions, but also needing to look in his rear view mirror. Nico Martins now under attack from top ships.
Oh, look at this, huge!
And that's a switchback there for, I think that is Marco Badowski, and that was a huge ascent from, I think it was indeed Nico Martins, and well, a cent too big, Jesse.
Yeah, that was never going to go on. That tight turn number one, you can maybe do that if you have an arc, but he didn't and slid all the way through. Thankfully, everybody else able to get around and through and no further incident. We've seen that go very, very wrong in the past. Not so there, but that will make the other drivers around you question your judgment for going for that move. You know what caused that too? It wasn't really misjudging the braking zone so much. He broke probably where he normally would. The problem was he was in the draft all the way down the pit straight, and he was at a higher KPH than he normally would do. So, I mean, you could argue, yeah, he did miss his braking point there, but it's so easy to do when you're in the draft. You don't think a couple of kilometers makes a difference, but it absolutely does, and that was the difference. Just overshot turn one. Carlos Calatayud hanging with Martin Lawrence here a little bit. Rafael Hull pacing them back in third, Daly fourth. Miguel Nito has gone backwards here to P5 early. Lindgren, Plata, Stevenson in the top 10. Forrest Wilkinson is your top 10 for the time being. But tell you what, if Calatayud continues up this pursuit of Martin Lawrence, who's looked so dominant at times, we might have to rename him the Carlos Catalunya, because he's actually doing a really good job staying within a second, though now that the tires are up to temperature. Martin Lawrence has the fastest lap of the race, starting to pull away just a little bit.
Yeah, only by 8/10, so it's still in the 1 second gap. Juan Mensa, the Portuguese, wants to make a move here for P11 for against McBob there on the outside. McBob stays on the inside. It turns out that Juan Mensa now again gets the inside of turn 3. See if it's done and dusted this move, and it seems like he has done and dusted that move. McBob can't really get the exit speed out of that turn 3. Coming into that turn 4, I don't expect Salmansu to make any mistakes, but yeah, the battle for the lead is really moving away from us a bit. At the same time, P3 is coming a bit closer to P2, like we've seen in the past couple of laps. Marco Badowski now trying to get down the inside of, I think that is Howling, and Marco Badowski does get down the inside of Howling, and so he will move up to P13 now. Great move by the German driver there in the German Porsche, and see if Marco Badowski can move up some places even more in this lovely sunny Spanish racetrack, virtual racetrack of course. But yeah, the battle for the lead is still going on, but battle for midfield positions just, as we speak of midfield positions, Sebastian Brunier there, the Frenchman, defending his position very well, and again, it's all kicking off almost everywhere you look, Jesse.
Byron got a little bit too deep in the Kaisa there, and it was all over. The Frenchman able to take that position away, and he will take 19th. Will Seb Brunier up into the top sort of half of the field, working his way through. A huge slide right there by Jackson as he's trying to fight the car for traction, trying to stay really close to Matthias Byron. He's unable to do it. He loses all that time in the worst possible place on the exit of New Holland. Or actually, he did that in the middle of New Holland, but in years makes no difference. Ruins his momentum, and that will just about do it for him for that straightaway, hoping that he's able to keep the position he's in. Marco Badowski for Team Monkey Racing on the back of Snooty McFlude, looking to make the 12th place position a reality, showing the nose down into the hairpin, and he's going to stick it in there as he has the overlap into Repsol, and he's going to get it handily. No big challenge there from McFlude as they do hand over the 12th place spot. Sometimes discretion, absolutely the better part of valor, and the smart thing there, just don't lose more time than you have to. Marco Badowski clear, looking like he's on the march to go chase down João Manso now.
Yeah, it's a great drive by the German so far as Mike Redford tries to, yeah, he is overtaking the Porsche car of Hauser. That is most definitely Mike Redford, the Englishman, done and dusted that move as well. And so he moves up to P25, maybe trying to get to that P23, P24. Ollie Mulder currently driving in P24, just chasing Kusic there, as we might see some moves for those positions. Remember, it's not like F1 where points end in the top 10. We have points for the entirety of the top 30, so points up for grab for almost everyone, which we haven't seen in the early stages of this Porsche Cup Car. But look at the train in front of them. I absolutely love this kind of racing. It's classic Cup Car racing. It's showing your nose, showing yourself in the mirrors, maybe some door banging as well. It's just all part of it. It's part of real racing, part of virtual racing as well. As a Belgian driver, Thibaut Roskam shows his nose on the inside for P16.
Oh, he's
there is
gone.
contact. There is contact. It was tight, and there is contact between, I think that is Howling and Thibaut Roskam, and our stewards will probably look into that very soon.
Yeah, I thought for a second Howling and Roscom were going to get away with that one. They don't get away with it, and I thought they had eventually stopped making contact because they're going to get together right here, and I thought, oh, it's not going to be that bad, but no, he's just nowhere to go, just not able to get off each other, and goes for a ride. Roscom didn't want to turn him, but again, a little bit too close. The angle's bad, and Howling goes for a spin, and I'm just honestly surprised we made it 12 minutes, and that's the only one of those we've seen thus far. Steve Hughes here fighting for position, and this is ultimately important. You know, when you watch Formula One, the fights for 10th place are just as interesting, probably more interesting, than the fights up front most weeks, and that's because you're fighting over a single point. That's what a lot of these drivers are doing here. Lundqvist and Hughes fighting over a point or two. Anyone outside the top 30, including Andy Boardman, who just set the quickest lap, who is in the background of this shot, all fighting over a single point at this stage. And up the inside is Boardman here looking to make the move, and he will do exactly that on the 999 Lundqvist. Lundqvist is going to go wide. That's going to throw Boardman out wide, but they both get it back under control. Boardman still with the run on the outside, but is on the wrong side of the racetrack. Another huge slide by the 999. He's going to lose it. The 999 has been involved in a second incident today. More contact for Boardman. Boardman's going to be loose. The front of that car has been absolutely destroyed. You can see the damage on the front of the 69, but now in a points-paying position, and that goes very far to highlight my point. That was fierce battling, and what do you get for winning that fight? And point.
I just said door banging is racing, maybe not that hard, and as you know, it shows that yes, rubbing is racing, but not on too extreme levels, and sometimes that's the price you pay for such incidents. But again, that's part of racing as well. Ross Kusic here in P22 as we switch over to Gregor Forst, the German, again in the German car. He has a 5-second penalty to his name, which he will probably get clear in his first and only pit stop in this race. Pit window will roughly open at the 30-minute mark, so 10 to 15 minutes from now. But the drivers aren't worrying about pit stops at the moment. They're trying to worry about their current positions. Oh, and it's the Mexican Marco Lopez into the wall. We'll see a race replay here of Marcos Lopez going out of turn 3, probably loses on the exit. Yes, that's exactly what he did, and that's a strange crash, but it's a crash nonetheless. And almost it was close with the car in P31 of Peter Lundqvist. But yeah, the Mexican not having such a fortunate time here at at the Spanish circuit. Oli Mulder now trying to overtake Kusic. He was in front of him, or he was behind him for a while, and now he's trying to overtake it into turn 1 here at the Catalunya circuit. Who's later on the brakes? Oli Mulder has the advantage of being on the inside. Has he outbraked himself? Oh, it's a little bit of oversteer on that Porsche, but he keeps the position nonetheless. Can he defend that position from Kusic as well? Can Oli Mulder keep on to that position on that P22? It seems so. Into turn 4, yeah, that P22 position is done and dusted for now for Oli Mulder. And who knows, maybe Kusic will try and come back. Andy Boardman again showing his nose in the rear view mirrors of Howling, and Howling needs to give him the space like if and that's almost contact, and Howling narrowly
he's gonna get in there.
make contact now. They do make contact on the second instance. Andy Boardman and Howling not having the best of races or the cleanest of racing here today on Catalunya, but it's an incident for the stewards yet again.
Well, I gotta say, Andy Boardman is going to ask everybody after this race, what did I do over the weekend that made you all so mad at me? That is incredible. I think, and I could be wrong about this, it's just my one visual that we saw. I think Boardman left him howling. That is just, oh my goodness gracious! Aaron Jackson with the Dukes of Hazzard move over the curb into another car, the number 2 of Kusic. And what has happened to the Kaiju 99, as that was a massive, I have never seen that part of the racing circuit when we weren't doing rallycross, which is what this is. Yeah. I've never seen that before. What on earth is going on here over the jump? Colin McRae, where are you? What on earth did I just see?
That's very unusual. I'm very curious how that came to its beginning as well, because that's like
that replay only gave me more questions. Yes. It didn't give me any answers. What on earth?
You'd almost need to go like cut the entire chicane for that as well to come into the gravel with such an angle, right? So yeah, a lot of questions here today probably are going to be unanswered, going to be left unanswered here in this race. We got off to a clean start, Jesse, but as the race further progresses on, as people are battling their individual positions, the race is starting to, well, not get so clean, and the stewards will have a very hard time, maybe even pull an all-nighter for if it keeps continuing like this, because if we've only driven 20 minutes and if it goes like this, yeah, the stewards will definitely pull an all-nighter by the end of this race. Again, Gregor Forst, he was in P9 a few laps ago. He's still in P9 in the current time. He's trying to overtake Lee Stevenson. Lee Stevenson in the number 64 Porsche, in a beautiful Porsche. Reminds me a bit of that Red Bull test livery back all the way into 2018, 2017. It was Miguel Neto, the Portuguese. A lovely fight for P3, P4 and P5. Even P6 is in the mix for the last podium spot in this race. Raphael Hull probably doesn't want to look in his rear view mirror, but he has to. Jordan Daly is in his rear view mirror. Now we know Jordan Daly can definitely pull out a dive bomb or an enormous ascent and even pull it off. See if he can do it, maybe coming into turn 5 on the outside of turn 5 as well. Raphael has to go defensive for Jordan Daly. Can Jordan Daly get it on the switchback, the old up and under? Doesn't seem to have the exit speed so far. Now coming into Wolf, he can't really do anything yet. It's such a difficult corner to overtake, but maybe Raphael has a bad exit. See if he can do it into the chicane. Raphael Hull needs to stay in front of Jordan Daly if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. Carlos Calatayud is again approaching the lead just a little bit. He lost touch a few laps ago, but now he's on to that 1 second barrier, and Jordan Daly now still at the back of Raphael Hull, doesn't really seem to get past it, but you know, you can't also fight all the way, because that would just lose your time to P1 and maybe improve your podium position chances for a P2. That would be quite ambitious for Andy Boardman to do it on the outside of that corner, but in the hairpin it doesn't seem so much of a bad idea.
Interesting fights up at the front of the field. Carlos Caladian now has started to re-catch leader Martin Lawrence, and Rafael Huel has fallen off of the back of that by 2.5, 3 seconds, as you saw now fighting Daly, as Andy Boardman is continuing to make short work, though a bit physical work from the pack as he's coming back through. He's had a couple of dust ups, and hard to say that either of them were really his fault, to be honest, but neither makes no difference. Now fighting Mike Redford for the 23rd spot as, they're going to come to pit lane, and that's a very late decision to come into pit lane, and that is right when the pit window opened 20 seconds ago for the first cars to come in. I doubt that you'll see any damage repaired from the Andy Boardman car. I think they'll just let that go. I was talking to some of the teams earlier on in the season about the damage, and they say, well, usually you can't really feel it that much. It's not the biggest deal. And it usually drives okay. You would only fix it if it was really a problem. Steering's not aligned or something like that. But I don't think that's the problem that Boardman's going to have, and I think he'll let it go as the straight line speed. I think Stewie, our broadcaster's actually confirmed it to me before, that straight line speed is not always massively affected, as Gregor Forst for Fisher Esports goes for a big old drift right there in Kamsa and saves it. Les Stevenson would have had a good look at that and said, okay, your tires are starting to let go. Les Stevenson here, all he wants to do is keep Forst behind him until the pit stop. Got a 5-second penalty anyway. He further wants to put a car that may be on his pace, maybe a little bit quicker behind him, and he can do that just by backing him up just a little bit. He's doing a good job of it so far. Here's Rafael Huel in the not suspicious cats 21. These are adorable. These are good cats. These are loyal cats. They are not suspicious. I sound like my former president and soon to be new president again with that statement. These are good cats. These are great cats. Not suspicious at all. I've never seen cats as good as these, but he has a little bit of a tall order here with Jordan Daly, Miguel Nito, and Christian Lindgren all in tow here fighting. And the problem for Rafael Huel is, as you said, Dan, if he loses another spot here to Daly, this could be huge for the championship halfway through. It could be huge because if Daly gets in there, that's going to bring Nito into this, that's going to bring Lindgren into this, and he may lose more than one spot as well, and that would certainly be damning.
Yeah, definitely. But I think these drivers are very wise, because they aren't. Jordan Daly could have gone for a lunge ages ago. I mean, it's not far off the spoiler of that Porsche of Rafael Huel, and so I think these guys are just waiting for perhaps an incident in front to happen, even though they're only just two cars, so maybe trying to help each other along the way to maybe even catch up to Carlos Calatayud, because I don't know what's happening exactly with Calatayud. The gap was 1 second, 2 laps ago, and it's 2 seconds currently, or it was 1 second 2 laps ago, and it just increased by 2 seconds. So I don't know what's happening with Carlos Calatayud. Yes, this Porsche can be very tricky, but losing a second, maybe in even one lap, is a pretty big gap, as Jordan Daly still tries to maybe stay close to Rafael Huel. He is losing touch a little bit, and it's no surprise as well, because as I said before, these Porsches, they don't have a lot of dirty air, but they definitely do have dirty air. I mean, they still have cars with lots of downforce compared to normal road cars, and so you will notice it. Jordan Daly will probably as well eat his tires up more than Rafael Huel, which gives Rafael Huel the advantage that he maybe can break away after the pit stop or anytime soon, because as long as Jordan Daly stays behind Rafael, and that's a big moment was that Christian Lindgren? No, it was Miguel Neto, the Portuguese. I saw a big breakout for that Porsche at the rear, and this is exactly what dirty air can cause you: overheating your tires, possibly losing grip at the exit or the entry of a corner, and making mistakes, or letting the car go its way like this, Jesse.
Yeah, I think some of the issues we're seeing with the gaps being unpredictable up at the front of the field is maybe Martin Lawrence made a couple of mistakes, and now he's found the pace, and Carlos Caladian's maybe making a couple of mistakes. The tire's starting to give up a little bit of grip halfway through this stint. We've seen so many cars sideways already. we look at these drivers, especially at the sharp end of the field, and they almost have robotic-like consistency, and you don't think of them as human, but I promise you they are. They technically have to solve a captcha to have an account to sign up. So I think it's safe to say they're all human, but some of them don't act like it. Is the point I'm getting at? But everybody's capable of making mistakes, albeit a lot of times minute in comparison to the mistakes that I would be making out there. But Christian Lindgren trying to make up some time.
Yeah, indeed, the Scandinavian trying to maybe even pick up the pieces as he's well last of this group for the battle of P3. The advantage of being last is that you can, you know, grab your popcorn, try and see if any events unfold. If you're because well, I've been in the situation of Christian Lindgren plenty of times, and you're just hoping, all right, go side by side, crash, and you know, lose the position to me. I don't care where you end up after that. Oh wait, is that Carlos Calatayud? I think it is. That is Carlos Calatayud going very slowly. That is a Porsche going off into the background as well. I have no clue who that Porsche is, but Carlos Calatayud just made a mistake in front of my eyes. I think I haven't seen it, so maybe we'll get a replay of it soon. We do get the race replay here. Carlos Calatayud now just coming coming over the line and now approaching T1. It's a tricky braking zone. You probably brake roughly at 150 meters just before the 100 board, and there he goes, Carlos Calatayud, almost losing the car. That Porsche of Carlos is really struggling at the rear end, and we'll might see why. He goes out of turn 3, has a reasonable exit, but it needs to have happened here in turn 4. Maybe a big oversteer moment on the entry. It doesn't, on the entry, no, probably on the exit, too early on the throttle. Almost losing the car. Oh, he probably has damage as well. He touched the barrier, needing to look into his rear view mirror as well. A car going off just ahead of him, but that's Carlos Calatayud going off a little bit into the barrier and now sustaining damage as well. As it's interesting what's going to happen. Has he lost P2? No, he hasn't lost P2. Miguel Neto now, the Portuguese now, excuse me, Miguel Neto, the Portuguese in P4, of course, trying to get that position. Lee Stevenson has pitted and I know is battling Marco Budowski for P21, and João Manso, now the Portuguese, is also trying to get into that fight of the top 20. Of course, these guys have all pitted already, so they will definitely move up quite a lot of positions, but the reason why Lee Stevenson, Marco Budowski, João Manso have pitted this early in the race is because they of course want to gain time by pitting earlier and maybe getting some more positions at the end of the pit window and getting an advantage by battling like they are doing right now. It will probably only lose some time, so they have to work together, otherwise that early pit stop strategy is probably not going to work. Miguel Neto still in P4. Rafael Hull still chasing down Carlos Calatayud for P2 here in this 1 hour race, and it's going to be so interesting how this battle unfolds, because we first had a battle with 3 cars for P3 in this race. We now have a battle of 4 cars for P2 in this race, as some of them make their entry into the pit lane. That is Rafael Hull getting into pit lane, Miguel Neto and Carlos Calatayud making the decision to stay out, so we'll see how that pans out. And Christian Lindgren has also pitted, so see where they will end up. I don't expect them to end up with Jordan Daly, who's had a very good pit stop, and we're going to see how the pit window, or the end of this pit window, ends out.
Yeah, of course, when you pit is very important. I mean, especially if you're in a fight. I think we saw both Boardman and Redford earlier pit because they didn't want to be in the middle of the group. They thought maybe they could get out in clean air, make up more spots that way, which is great. I think if you're at the front of the field and you're in a battle, you have to weigh it when you come in. Come in a little bit too early, you're going to give up a little bit, maybe, or maybe you'll gain, depending if you think the other drivers around you continue to fight. You always worry about that if you're near the front of the field. That's very close. You always worry about being at the front of this field, not necessarily at the very front, but being the first driver, the driver highest up to pit, that you will set off a chain reaction. If you're in the middle of the pack, you can see them not pit. You can come in and gain an advantage based on that.
Yep.
But usually it's a driver high in the field that sets off the chain. There's also the thing to be said, there are drivers that know what lap they're coming in on, and if you have a mistake-free race, they will only come in when they want to come in. They will not be forced in the lane by anybody because of their car setup. That's how much fuel they have in, and they don't want to waver.
And it's going to be interesting in pit lane as well. How much fuel have you taken on board during the start of this race? Because you might have calculated it so you'll take more fuel at the start of the race, and so you'll spend less time in pit lane, unless my theory may be wrong, because you still need to change tires. I think that's probably the case, but still, fuel wise you can play around a lot in this game. Oh, that's Marco Badowski losing the rear and possibly getting under pressure of the Portuguese, the 222 of Gauman. So there, but Marco Badowski is still holding himself firm and trying to keep that P15 spot, as almost everyone ahead of them still need to pit. I just told you, of course, I didn't expect Jordan Daly to get into the fight with Rafael and Christian Lindgren. I was completely wrong. Jordan Daly was, of course, battling Rafael earlier in this race, and so he's just 1.6 seconds behind Rafael Hull, which is remarkable because at the beginning of the pit window he was only 4/10, 3/10 shy. So Jordan Daly losing time there in pit lane. See where everyone else ends up. Marco Badowski still trying himself to hold on firm as we have a battle for P7.
He's gonna slide in there.
9. Yeah, that's the battle between Christian Lindgren and Jordan Daly. Lindgren, the Swedish driver, now attacking the British driver.
Well, this is very close indeed. The 48 and the 197 all on top of each other here. 4 big positions. They're in ninth now, but they're going to be way higher than that a little bit later on. And Daly does not want Lindgren to get around now. He's got to find the grip in those tires. It looks like Christian has it. Daly not quite so much. He takes a huge lunge there, but it was just a fake move. He wasn't actually trying. He's going to try to get a better run here out of the sharp left-hander, and he kind of does, but nowhere to pass as long as Daly doesn't miss his corner, and he does slightly. He gets a little bit sideways, does Jordan Daly in the 197. Dan, you said something interesting a second ago, and and you're Dutch, so you don't understand this, but you didn't expect Daly to fight Huell. But I will tell you that Daly from up north, he's going to fight everybody. That's what he does.
Yeah, I predicted it earlier in this race. We know Jordan Daly. Jordan Daly can be aggressive.
Carlos in.
Yeah, that aggression has sometimes turned out good, sometimes turned out bad. But we know Jordan Daly. Jordan Daly will stay Jordan Daly.
Oh, another one.
Wide. Yeah, he does go wide. Oh, and
he parks it
on the exit. Yeah, that's very clever from the Britishman up north. No, I can't.
I'll tell you something about Daly. I'm glad I'm nowhere near as fast as him. I'm glad I don't have to race him. I'm glad I get to race with him and everything and not against him, because stuff like that would annoy the crap out of me. You miss the corner, you go, oh, I'm going to get an opportunity. But Daly's smart enough to lock it down to the apex to make you go the long way. You can't go through cars, despite what some people may think. You can't go through them. You got to go around them. So if you make a mistake and the corner's going the opposite direction, switch back corners, just park it on the apex. Daly's so good at that, and it's so annoying and frustrating. There's a lot of things other drivers would call it and call him because of it, but it's smart racing to know that, okay, well, if I miss the first corner, as long as I'm still in the apex, they're going to have to go around me, and they're not going to be able to, most likely. So very smart, very frustrating, but very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, if you've driven iRacing and gotten a penalty at some tracks, you know, with iRacing you have this 1 second penalty system where you can lose all the time in the corners, and you know, of course, you don't want anybody to overtake you, and so you just slow down a tiny bit more than you would usually do at the apex. keep them behind. They are of course insanely frustrated, but you lose the penalty and you'll go on with your race. And well, something like that Jordan Daly just demonstrated by excellence as Andy Boardman trying to overtake Andy Boardman. He has the fastest lap, which is quite surprising because he's nowhere near the leaders in this race, but he does have the pace. Andy Boardman does. Quite impressive as a driver in the number 69 for Grease Weasel Racing. Yeah, again, very impressive, overtaking Ollie Mulder there as we switch back to the Swedish driver of Christian Lindgren trying to overtake Jordan Daly oh so desperately, given Jordan Daly, well, I said it before and I'll just say it again, probably for the fourth time in this commentary session. The rear of that Porsche Cup is just really unstable, going into corners, going out of corners, and we've seen that all the time this race.
Yeah, I think that's a characteristic of Porsche in general, especially here at Barcelona. It seems to bring out some of the weird handling characteristics of the car, and I thought Lindgren was going to go into the back of the Just Gamers 197, but no, touchy from the Sim Brothers 48. You know, our broadcaster Stewie brought up a good point, a counterpoint to my previous argument of just parking on the apex. I was like, yeah, you can do that, says Stewie, except you may get punted and then you're dead. And that's true, but that's on them because you're not doing anything technically wrong, but it is certainly a risk versus reward thing that you have to weigh. Marko Badowski for Team Monkey trying to do a little risk versus reward as there was a car that was going incredibly slowly on the straight. I believe they're a lap or so down and they're just trying to get out of the way, but very heads up driving there. I didn't see any sort of flag that would indicate a slow car there, so very heads up indeed. Les Stevenson for RPR in the RPR Cup car there. He's just trying to hang on to a top 10 spot for the time being. If something happened with Ted Edwards down into turn one, this is on Mike Redford. Oh my goodness, elbows out racing indeed. A secondary contact there, and then they reset. They will agree to disagree and potentially try that again. Lindgren, though, back up here for 7th place currently, trying to make a move on Daly. Daly's on the apex, trying anything as Christian Lindgren for Sim Brothers to get around that green and silver car in front of them. To this point, unable to do so. Looks to the inside. It wasn't a fake. He was committing to that, but Daly just having enough overlap. The back of Daly's car wiggling now as they go through the hairpin. Was that a touch? Coming through the final corner on Mike Redford, I think it might have been. Yes, it was just the slightest of touches there from Ollie Mulder. Now, wait a minute. Where is Ted Edwards gone? Didn't Ted Edwards just make contact with one of those cars a second ago? Where did he go?
I think that was.
I think we're about to find out. I think we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting because did he lose it on himself, or was it just the tiniest bit of contact?
Dan, I'm going to argue, based on the fact that Stewie had that replay queued up whenever I asked where Ted was, that there was contact. I don't think that was retaliation by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was incidental contact, but asking you shall receive, says our broadcaster, Stewie. That is where the 8 car went, because they were definitely not on the same straightaway after that, as it has gotten a bit scrappy. I guess you could argue it started a bit scrappy in the mid-pack today. Well, while we have this moment, there have been many penalty reports that have been adjudicated. I'm just going to read out the ones that have resulted in penalties to save time here. Dan, do interrupt me if something happens. 5-second penalty for car 337 for avoidable contact on lap 1, turn 12 versus car 45. 5-second penalty for car 11, overtake with contact versus car number 34 on lap 1, turn 9. A warning for car 621 for an overtake with contact on lap 3, that versus car 45. 5-second penalty for car 100, overtake with contact. And here's an overtake happening right here, hopefully without contact. Indeed, for the time being,
I need to interrupt you there because something happened to Carlos Calatiot. He's P12 instead of P. Damage in pit lane, I hear from our beautiful Stewie. So Carlos Calatiot repaired his damage, and that's the reason why he's fallen so far back. Jesse, please resume.
Well, that's interesting to see. Let's see if we get an idea. Carlos Calatiot.
Yeah.
Here is the pit stop timer. Most people in the 45, 46 second bracket. You see one Badowski ran a 44. So did Rafael Huel down pit lane. But it's 1 minute 12 for Carlos Caladiad. So either he took tires, that's even more time than that. He's definitely repaired damage. Something has gone wrong there. I didn't see what happened to Carlos Caladiad, why he would even have damage. You may have noticed something else. Yes. Continuing on with the penalty reports, 5-second penalty for car 621. That's the 621 for avoidable contact on lap 6, that versus car 84. A 10-second penalty for car 96 for an overtake with contact. I just see a car spear off into the gravel.
You did, and that was the Mexican of Marco Lopez. Marco Lopez not having the best of races and trying to pick up the throttle. How does he get to there from? Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh boy, he's taken the. I think this is the bike chicane.
Yeah.
I think is what that
sure
is.
It is. Yeah. Marco Lopez now in pit lane, and as Hootie McBob again trying to overtake Brunier. Again, Jesse, please review.
Yeah, a 10-second penalty for car 96. This is the same 10-second penalty for them. They have not received two. I want to make that very clear. But it is a 10-second penalty for car 96 for an overtake with contact, leading to a moderate time loss for the 621. So the reason that the stewards mentioned that is because an overtake with contact could be a warning or a 5-second, but if it is a significant time loss, it's a sliding scale and it can be upgraded. So that contact was deemed severe enough that it lost the 621 significant time, and that was why it's upgraded to 10 seconds. I was back on lap 7. Everything else up to lap 7 has been deemed a racing incident besides those issues that we've mentioned, and there have been a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, about 16 other incidents, Dan, that have been racing incidents.
Yeah, that's quite a lot here for not only racing incidents, because that's racing incidents stands apart from the actual incidents where penalties have been given, and the stewards are probably still looking at other incidents right now as we speak, because we of course have live stewarding. Now Rafael Hull is not seeing Jordan Daly in his rearview mirror. This time it's a Portuguese driver of Miguel Neto in the number 43 Porsche Cup car. Will he go down for a move on the inside? Thinks better of it, so he backs out, and so Rafael overshoots the corner. He overshoots completely. Cuts the corner. Will he stay ahead of Miguel Neto? No, he won't. Miguel Neto has the inside, or does Rafael have to run on the outside for the exit of turn 4? Rafael still alongside the Portuguese driver, and now the Portuguese driver does stick a nose in. Does that mean the end for the second place of Rafael Hull? Rafael Hull desperately trying to stick onto it, but losing that position to the Portuguese of Miguel Neto, and Jordan Daly is still in front of Christian Lindgren, Marco Badowski, and is having a great race. Of course, he didn't have the best of qualifying sessions, but now made his way up to P8. Now at the back of Lies Stevenson in the number 46 Porsche, and Boardman, who we saw had a pretty good qualifying in the end, and then fell down at the good qualifying at the beginning, fell down at the end of the qualifying session. Now in P17, trying to chase down Brunier, who still has a 5-second penalty, and that's contact between the two Porsche, but they seem to make it out alive, Jesse. Incredible. That was spinning in sync.
Yeah, that's going to be frustrating for everybody but Andy Boardman. Boardman using these two cars as a chicane, a mobile chicane. He's going to maybe get another one here. A slide right there from, I believe, oh my goodness, it's so very dangerous, these moves. But Seb Brunier getting all sorts of out of control, but just about saving it. And here comes Andy Boardman for Grease Weasel. They almost make contact, but they don't. Seb gives just the right amount of room, and Boardman in the space of a lap has made up a couple of positions. And watch out for these two. They are sliding all over the place. Is Snooty McFlude and Seb Brunier for nearly on pace, but they get it sorted out. And much to the happiness of Andy Boardman, he's clear of that group as well. Martin Lawrence out in front of Miguel Neto. Rafael Huel now down to third. Jordan Daly hanging in fourth. Christian Lindgren make up your top 5. Behind them, Imo Plata, Les Stevenson, Marco Badowski, and João Manso, the group we're following here, off the back of the Roker's car, looking back at the Team Monkey Porsche and João Manso's car as well for RPMS. Three completely different teams, but some fantastic drive. Can I just give Les Stevenson a little bit of credit here for a second?
Yeah.
You want to talk about a driver that we would probably generally consider a mid-pack silver driver, right? What has happened to Les Stevenson recently? Top 10s, you know what I mean? Just impressive ability on that Les Stevenson. And I don't know where exactly, he's just stepped it up, I guess.
Yeah, he's found his rhythm in that Porsche. So yeah, indeed. I mean, Lee Stevenson just doing great, and he was running P6 doing great. Oh, have we spoiled it?
No, he's fine. He's fine. It's fine. You can't pass here.
You can, maybe you can't, but maybe if Marco Badowski has to switch.
Oh, he's sideways still. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He's going to need a 10-second lesson on drift. It doesn't stand for Donkey Kong, but he's still in there.
Yeah, he's still in there, Marco Badowski, tasting the blood of that car. He's tasting.
Oh, he gets loose.
He gets loose as well. That's to show how difficult this Porsche is. Yes, Jesse.
Now, I am not a race engineer. You know that very well. I can barely do math. I think the tires are going away on these Porsches.
Yeah, would you say?
Yeah, I have an inkling that the tire life might be in danger right now. All three of the cars out of sorts just now.
Yeah, Marco Badowski losing a position, probably unexpected, that is Carlos Calatayud. No, that's not Carlos Calatayud, that is João Manso. That is João Manso. That is indeed the Portuguese driver of João Manso. Now, lovely people of the internet, if you haven't noticed already, right into the action. We're also streaming on Twitch. So if you have 30 seconds, please make sure you go follow us on Twitch. People that watch on Twitch. We also have a YouTube channel, coincidentally. So get that 30-second window open and maybe like or subscribe on our YouTube channel. Back to the race here at Catalunya with 13 minutes remaining. Carlos Calatayud is making progress. He of course had a slow pit stop, 30 seconds slower than everybody else, and now is chasing the tail of Marco Badowski, and he's closing in fast. He's closing in very fast. You can see him gain in the braking zones. You can see him gain in all the turns he does compared to Marco Badowski, which loses the rear again. Lee Stevenson losing the rear as well. This is a complete hell for these Porsches in the last sector of Barcelona, Catalunya circuit, and they're all finding out, they're all struggling just as much. This is Cup car racing, Jesse. This is Porsche.
Yeah, we're racing Porsches. You can definitely tell. Carlos Calatayud for rebound racing right on the back of Badowski. A little bit of rowing going on there. Unable to quite get out of that tow, but there's four of them all fighting, and they're going to be 2 by 2 down into turn number 1, and it's going to be overshot by the rebound car. Les Stevenson goes for a slide. Somehow all the cars still facing the right direction, but only just João Manso avoids a bigger issue there, and it looks like Calatayud's going to go to the tail of this train simply because he ran out of room, and that was just the draft gone wrong. He had the toe of all the other cars, and he was down on the inside and just misplaced his braking marker and very nearly went bowling into turn 1, but somehow everybody able to save it, not least of them all, Les Stevenson, who is absolutely using that 10-second lesson on drift. And you know who's not? Thomas Novak, who has once again found a part of the racetrack I'm unfamiliar with. I assume he's going to slide into the infield here, and he is. He's going to hop the drainage ditch. That's what that is. That's a drainage ditch he's over, and he's going to hop it again because, you know, he's been playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and he's trying to get through the tutorial right there, ollieing over the gap.
Yeah, the Spaniard trying to...
Oh, here we go again!
Indeed, on the inside of that chicane. He needs to keep the momentum now, but Marco Badowski... Oh, he loses it! Carlos Calatayud loses it. The Spaniard who was doing...
Oh, he found the ditch!
On the rally cross track now. That's not the tarmac, that's the gravel. That's not even tarmac you want to be on. Carlos Calatayud losing traction there on the exit of this chicane. Again, the Porsche is so sensitive, and the Spaniard on his home track proves it once again, Jesse.
Oh my goodness, Stewie's telling me what we already know that we didn't know where those holes were. We've never been to that part of the racetrack. Not even I have seen that. I know they're there, but the drainage areas, but there's some huge like little hills over there that aren't part of the drainage system of the racetrack. And they're finding them here today as, oh, it's going to be contact here. And Seb Brunier is going to go wide. That's going to make Redford go off the racetrack. And that should be position gain for Reese Wilkinson. There's going to be more contact. Wilkinson's going to go through. Here comes the 100 of Matthias Byron. Byron's through now. And Seb Brunier has lost a top 20 spot after the contact with Mike Redford. Redford's going to go all the way down to P22. The big winner there, Reese Wilkinson, gets through, but more contact for them. And on top of that, all of those cars except Byron have a penalty now. Well, you could throw Redford into that mix as well. Byron and Redford look to gain quite massively if they can stay within a certain 10 or 5 second distance. Where's Kevin Boss come from? Where's the wheelie slow 31 come from? 17th place now, minding their own business. I'd say minding their own business, but right behind Roscom for 17th. Actually just got passed for that position.
Can we just talk about how all of the Dutchies... Oh, Lee Stevenson going wide there, but not losing a position there. Stay calm, Gaumans on the outside. Almost making contact.
Slide it again!
Again, Lee Stevenson is the drift master. He's teaching you drift lessons because he's got enough experience in this Porsche to deal with it so. And it was about... that was almost contact between Gaumans and Mark Piotrowski. It's all kicking off here for P7. 8 and 9, and I was about to say we've just completely ignored the Dutchies in this race, haven't we? Emmo Plate has been nowhere on the screen, Kevin Boss has been nowhere on screen, which is quite coincidentally it's just funny. Marco Badowski now trying to overtake Lee Stevenson on the inside of turn 1. Lee Stevenson still has the outside. Can he stick with it? The outside turns to the inside and the inside turns to the outside yet again. So Marco Badowski wins that position finally after trying so long from Lee Stevenson. But maybe you could predict Lee Stevenson. Does he have a bit of breathing room now? No, he doesn't. Romanzo on the outside of the old man here, and
wow, really?
Yeah,
Dan Van Zutphen making enemies of Les Stevenson in today's race.
I'll be. You know, there's quite a grey man on his front bonnet, so that just shot out. I'm sorry, Les. You're not old. Forgive me. I just gave him a compliment that he's an absolute great drifter. So that's
I tell you what,
equals it.
Les has the drifting skills of a man who owned a Triumph Spitfire at some point in his life, and that is a compliment. That is an absolute compliment. He was able to save it, but now under fire from Zhao, the original battle resumes, and maybe easily won by Zhao, who's up the inside. And it will be, and it's a huge moment again for Les as he gets off the power and is able to save his fate from going over to the drainage ditches on the inside of the racetrack. Not so for Steve Hughes, the red mist car out of control into turn 1. Is this just the same thing of lighting up the rear tires? I reckon it might be. He's over the curb a little bit and can't save it, and he's going to go visit the tire wall here late in this race. Well, folks, we're getting close to the end of the race today, which means that a couple of things we want to do here for you. We want to thank all of our partners that make this race and every race possible. AK Esports, for more on how they can help you with your server hosting and esports solutions. akesports.it, and check them out. Go Setups is the one-stop shop for everything setup related in ACC. GoSetups.com. Get yourself a package today. Certainly a lot of drivers in today's race using Go Setups. Moser Racing is a top-of-the-line direct drive wheel supplier that doesn't break the bank. Check out their entire range of direct drive wheels, bases, and sets over at Moser Racing, their website. And a shout out to Motorsport UK. We're a recommended esport community. Thank you, Motorsport UK. And as always, more racing action this week, Dan. Got iRacing action on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going, I think, under the lights, morning racing at Daytona.
Oh, you have to love it. I mean, I saw, you've seen MX5 races in real life for the IMSA season at Daytona, and now we're going to get them at RCI. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding you, because it's really going to happen. It's going to be a lovely race. We've had a bonkers of a first round, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen it already, this will probably one of the best races we've seen all year around on RCI. I'm quite confident in that prediction. Christian Lindgren now trying to see if he can make it stick around the outside of Jordan Daly. Quite a big ask. He can't do it yet with 5 minutes to go. The time is running down, but back to that Mazda. Yeah, it's going to be a great race. Please tune in, because we've had good races all this season in the Mazda race. Carlos Calatayud trying to find his way back after some incidents this race. The Spanish driver on home soil is now overtaking Tom Shipson, I believe, or Miguel Martins for that P11 spot. Yeah, it is Miguel Martins, and now he is behind Lies Stevenson, the young lad, now trying to fend off Carlos Calatayud in his rear view mirror. Carlos Calatayud thinks better of it, can't attack Lee Stevenson. So far, Lee's losing the rear there, and there's Miguel Martins also in his rear view mirror. So it's all, you know, it's all happening here. Kicking off. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. With 4 minutes remaining, Carlos Calatayud just not getting the exit, but you know, you love it. The field spreads in the middle of the race, and at the end of the race, it all comes back together.
Going to do some housekeeping here at the end of the race. There's no further action between the 69 and the 999 on lap 7. A 5-second penalty for the 668 for an overtake with contact on lap 8 versus the 508 car. A warning for the 621 for avoidable contact, and that was increased to a 5-second due to it being their second warning on lap 9. A 15-second penalty for car 99 for an unsafe rejoin with a contact, or unsafe rejoin with a takeout, I should say. We saw that on the replay earlier on lap 9. 5-second penalty for car number 6 for avoidable contact. I believe we saw that as well on lap 20. Some NFAs later on in the race, but nothing else really significant going on. There was an NFA between the 84 and the 688, and an NFA between the 46 and the 30 that we saw most recently. So the stewards have absolutely allowed most of the side-by-side fender contact to be let go based on the outcomes, getting nobody an advantage. But yeah, that's significant contact right there. And now Carlos Calatayud, continuing to try and make up spaces, has now made their way into 11th position here, as it will be a small sort of victory for them after running inside the top 3, but something is certainly better than nothing. About Roscom here looking to get by Snooty McFlude. Gonna have to, it's a big ask, admittedly, for them to get by McFlude and to get 10 seconds up the road, but it's a battle nonetheless. Thomas Novak has had an additional incident, this time up in turn 3, and is just trying to stay out of the way, trying to limp that 71. I feel like they've been trying to limp that car home since the start of today's race. Just something off about that car.
Yeah, just like the Portuguese we saw, it's just sometimes it's just not your day, and you know, one incident can kick off multiple incidents and you lose your rhythm. Oh yeah, and Thibaut Roscom also almost losing his rhythm there. Again, in these later stages, the Porsche is just so difficult to drive. We've seen it at the end, basically at the last quarter of this race. The Porsche is very difficult to drive. And you know, it's also very difficult to overtake Jordan Daly from the north. Christian Lindgren trying to overtake the Britishman, the Swedishman against the Britishman. Oh, and he's done it! He's done it! Jordan Daly overshot this, lost his braking markers. Who knows what happened there? But Christian Lindgren overtakes Jordan Daly for P4 with only 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. And he might have this in the bag if he can keep it on track. But we know Jordan Daly does not give up easily. And yes, Jesse, you might be a bad influence.
I think Christian Lindgren might be up for being painted in stained glass in a chapel somewhere. Patience and absolute virtue sat behind Daly all race long, had a couple of runs, but didn't necessarily get too aggressive, I would argue, as they both had their incidents, but I mean, patient enough. And finally, the one time that the floodgate opened, he happened to be in the right position. He's able to get by without further incident. Christian Lindgren up to fourth. And I think that might be the Patience of a Saint Award for the day. Lindgren up to fourth, and not a whole lot lost if you're Daly. You kept him behind most of the race, and now you're still inside the top five. Pretty good still. Steven Hughes for Red Mist has had an additional incident here, but this one was a biggie. He hit it a ton, and I believe I just saw, yeah, I do. I see the connection lost car rumbling by our commentary position on the last lap of the race.
Yeah, and you know, we said it before, and I'll say it again. He did it one time. He did it a second time. Who says he can't do it a third time again? And with all the commotion that's been going on behind him, he's pulled away amazingly. 12 seconds is the gap in this 1 hour race. We've done how many laps? Probably around 34, maybe even more. 33 laps, so yeah, that is an incredible amount of gap there by Martin Lorenk, and he'll chase it home all the way. I don't expect him to lose at least. Spaniard Carlos Canatiu desperately trying to get into the top 10 in his home race, but he can't do it in turn one, so the time is running out, the corners are running out for the Spanish driver to overtake the Portuguese driver. Can he do it in turn 4? If he gets the exit, he might get his nose into turn 4 on the inside, outside, but it doesn't seem enough for the Spanish driver, and he needs to give it his all. Maybe a really late send out of the tricky turn 4 here. Coming into turn 5 there, Thibaut Roskam, the Belgium, as we see a race replay just before the leader finished. Thibaut Roskam, is he going to overtake the car ahead, or is he going to overshoot? Is there contact? Who knows? Down the inside the Belgium driver's goes. Yes, easy. That looks very good. Easy overtake, and I think the leader is almost coming out of the final corner. Martin Lorenz dominantly wins the third race of this Porsche Cup season, and that's 3 in a row for Martin Lorenz.
What a ridiculous display by the Czech driver, and just a brilliant drive to say the least. Miguel Nito not to be outshined for Phoenix Racing. Portugal comes across the line for P2. Rafael Huel will keep his championship hopes alive with another brilliant podium here in Spain today. Christian Lindgren, that hard-fought fourth place, is going to get in. Fifth place for Daly. Imo Plata will come across in sixth, but here's the big drama. Oh, and it's still drama as Marko Badowski spins out of the seventh place spot, and they're going to be demoted all the way back to ninth place. It's going to be João Manso in seventh. It's going to be Gregor Forst in eighth, Badowski in ninth, right at the end in the final couple of corners. It's a nightmare for Badowski, and we're going to see exactly what happened. Was there contact? It might have been contact, and it was. It was a pit maneuver that was super successful. He should try out for the LAPD. Just kidding. They don't know how to pit maneuver in LA, but they do here in Spain, because that was pit successful. Badowski ninth. Miguel Martins in the top 10. Where did he come from? Where did Miguel Martins come from for RPMS? But top 10 for them. Carlos Caladian will take home 11th with the quickest lap of the day. Les Stevenson 12th. Shipston, Varga, Boardman, Roscom, Snooty McFlude, Wilkinson, Boss, Byron, Brunier, Redford, Lundquist, as all these drivers continue to come to the line. This is the nearest battle. You've got Hauser, who's fighting the car, trying to fight Lundquist. I don't think it's going to be on for them, as a couple of these cars look like barn finds you'd find in the Forza series, to be honest, rather than ACC. But Hubert Hauser will be the final car to finish on the lead lap, and that will conclude round 3 of the Porsche Cup. Everybody at home, everybody in the booth, everybody across the way in the stewards box, collectively inhale, exhale. Woo!
Yeah. Oh, wow. 33 cars, Porsche Cup racing on a track like this. We expected a lot of chaos. We didn't expect a restart. Definitely not. That's something you probably never expect. And then the other start went well, and Jesse and I said together, this is going quite well. And then just as we finished our sentences, it
Yeah, we
all went
shouldn't have said
south.
that. In hindsight, we probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Hello to everybody who joined us near the end. We got carried away. There's a lot of craziness going on. Hello to Rich that's joined us as well. Joe Dauber would like to remind you that he's older than Les Stevenson. I didn't know that about Joe. I actually don't know if that's true. If Joe Dauber is older than Les Stevenson, years makes no difference. Great race car drivers, the lot of them. Um, Kevin Boss not taking the Les slander very well, but this is the replay of the race. Les Stevenson has joined us. I don't know if it's to yell at us or if he wants to do an interview. It's up to him, as we will try to do some interviews this evening. Before we sign off, I just want to say a big thank you to our stewards who do the thankless job every single week of sorting out the mess. Our chief steward reckons that the vast majority of the incident for the initial crash that started the restart, a lot of that would be racing incident, of course, other than the initial, probably. We kind of theorized that, but nice to hear the chief steward say that, as it was very nasty at the very beginning of the race. Martin Lawrence, your winner here today. We'll be back live with you, of course, on Wednesday. Don and myself with Ash Bibby behind the cameras, iRacing at the World Center of Speed, Daytona, taking on the road course in the Mazda Cup Championship. That series, Dan, has been absolutely insane. We've only been to 2 tracks, Navarra and Snetterton, but it has been wall-to-wall insanity. Some really good racing. The win always seems like it's been in doubt.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, let's go back to the first race. The win was the fan, I think thousands of seconds apart. Millimeter, really millimeter work it was, and we'll maybe even expect the same for Daytona, because Daytona, it has a very long banked straight. It doesn't have a lot of corners, and it just promises for some very good action and probably for some very good chaos. So I'm excited to see. So I'll see you there Wednesday.
We sure will. Same bat time, same bat place for that one. And it should be just as incredible. A lot of drafting around there. I envision about 20 cars all drafting in a pack together for about 30 minutes at a time. And by the way, did I mention probably 2 30-minute races, unless I'm very much mistaken. We'll be back live with you on Monday in 1 week's time for the continuation of Porsche Cup Season 5. We're going to be at Imola, a favorite track of many, including Les Stevenson, who's with us. Les, are you with us?
I certainly am.
Les, what a ridiculous race that was from your perspective. So many people in chat going absolutely nuts. We're going nuts in the booth. So many drifts you saved while keeping your position. What was it like out there fighting for top 10 honors today in these conditions, in this car, sliding around like you were?
Well, because I'm so old, I've got the experience of being able
Yes,
to
Dan,
drift
he is
it.
very old, decrepit, as you've said, yes.
I'd just like to clarify, I don't think I'm that old, but thanks. But no, it was so much fun. I just was really, other than the restart at the start, which was absolutely insane. I think it's probably only the second restart I've ever been involved in when it comes to these great events. But yeah, it was just great. It was good at the start. I made up quite a few positions, and then as the race went on, the tyres decided they were just going to melt, and the rears just didn't want to grip anymore, and ended up being a drift show, as you said. So, but no, I had a great laugh, and the guys around me, I've raced a lot. These guys I was racing with tonight, and I you kind of can predict where they're going to make their moves and where they're going to keep it safe, and the likes of Tom Shipston, Miguel Martins and Carlos Galatian, and yeah, it's those guys, and I just know 9 times out of 10 there was a little bit of door banging, but no, we had a good laugh, and it was all fair's fair.
Les, I made the joke at some point. I was like, that is the drifting skills of a man who once owned a Triumph, but I think you actually have at some point, haven't you?
I might have done.
You might got the back end out a little bit as well, yeah?
Might have done, yeah. Might have done, but you're not too far from the truth. But no, I'm not that old. No, I'd like to say they say life begins at 40, so that's all I'm going to say.
I heard 40 is the new 30, and I'm just really hoping that's true, man, because I'm getting really damn close. But Les, thank you for coming in. Thank you for putting on an absolute show out there. Again, I got one more for you actually. What's got into you recently? You're fighting for top tens in these fields, and you have sort of been the top of the silver for a while, but like that's not the case anymore. You're fighting against legitimate pros. So what's got into you?
Um, well, first of all, this is complete serious now. Not for me joking. When it comes to improvements, maybe it's all down to Tim Ireland. He forced me into the pro category, and much to my dislike, and it sort of forced me to become better and better and practice more, and I've become faster as a result. So it's probably a lot of it's to do with Tim forced me into the pro category. So yeah, I'll take that. And thanks for your comments. I mean, yeah, that's nice to hear, and it's certainly proofs in the pudding, as they say. So yeah, it's just been, like I said, practice makes perfect. I'm not anywhere near perfect, but I'm trying to get there anyway.
Well, it's absolutely brilliant. We like to chart progress for different drivers and everything, but it's just you're hanging out around the top 10 now every single race. You're a driver that people that want to finish well have to deal with every week, and it's hard not to notice. Keep up the good work. We love seeing you. We love to see the drifts as well, though that may not be the fastest way around the racetrack.
And
Les Stevenson fought really hard. Yes, Liz.
Sorry, can I just give a shout out to the Monday gang?
Absolutely.
For those that don't know, there's we call this the Monday gang. There's quite a lot of regular drivers that join this championship. Every champ that's alive, and as the champs have gone on, more and more people have joined the voice chat, and we've got to know each other better, and it's become a really good sort of close knit community. So a big shout out to the Monday gang, and it's a shame that Callum couldn't find the energy to deal with tonight's race. So boo-hoo to Callum, but yeah, I hope to see him in the next race.
Detected a couple of barbs and a cold shoulder right there. Might be a cold front coming in tonight in the UK. Les Stevenson put on a show for us today. From Les Stevenson to your winner, Martin Lawrence. Martin, I'm not going to ask you a question. I'm going to make a couple of statements, and you're going to formulate your own comment, okay? You show up late. You run a one-shot banker lap at the end. You're the last car over the line to qualify. You snag pole from everybody. You drive away from the field. 15-second lead at the end. Untouched, unwavering, 3 on the trot. Your comment.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm quite surprised because I really don't like Barcelona. Although, with the 992, Cup car, it's not that bad. Doesn't suffer like the GT3s from the tire wear that much. But I think that's because of Seb, who gave me the setup. I literally didn't do any laps. Last time I drove here was 2 weeks ago with the Bentley on the Elephant Pro Series, where I finished almost last, second to last, the field that remained. It was just so bad, and I suffered a lot, which I am not looking forward to the esports series. So yeah, I remember the track, but the setup Sub sent me and provided was just so good.
Well, let's go. What do you like more about this Porsche Cup car, Lorraine, than the normal GT3? Because you obviously are doing a great job, so you must have some sort of maybe connection with this Porsche Cup car, Martin.
I love the older gen 991
Okay.
because it was just a wild car completely. It was like a single mistake and you were spinning like a frisbee. But this one, I don't know. It feels very nature. It's like the model of the car suits me. It's like a little bit like a go-kart, so I can like very good position the car into the corners, especially that provides something from his cupboard, which is awesome because the car is so good under the braking. I can perfectly pinpoint it to the corner. So yeah, and the tire wear is non-existent on the rear, which is very surprising to me.
Yes. We've seen a lot of struggles with tire wear. One more final question with me, Lauren. Of course, we're all curious about your view in the championship. You won race 1, you won race 2, you've also won race 3. What's stopping you from not winning the other ones?
Probably people that will find some setups for the car because uh, it's if I would be setuping the car with my like say ACC knowledge and my some sort of meta driving on the GTs, I would be definitely struggling and I wouldn't be winning. But Deb found something which really works. I wouldn't use it even in a real car, but hey, car works.
Set the course for you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it makes sense as a logic, but it's so yeah. Setup wise, Sep is doing amazing job. So that provides me really awesome performances. And I believe if anyone else find the correct clicks, I believe anyone can challenge me because as you can see in the quali, it's nowhere that like big of a difference. I had really a bit of a luck up because I slided a lot, but those slides were really fast, but it wouldn't hold up in the race. So it's tighter than it seems. I'm just like I'm very cautious with the tire wear because I'm used to the Bentley, and the Bentley, if you don't because there is so much torque all of a sudden with the negative ballast that the car tends to shred the rears. So I'm used to short shifting, used to maintaining the tires as this weekend on the Watkins Glen. In the double stint, I was challenging like the top teams, like driven by Abulazi, Minar, and all those hot shots who are completely on a different level than me. And yeah, so well, work with the throttle and the gears, and it does wonders with the cars.
All right. Well, amazing to hear. We'll probably see you next round battling for the championship yet again. Martin Lorink, everybody. Dominant in the first round, as well in the second and third round. See if you can do it once again. Thank you, Lorink.
Thank you very much, boys.
I'll take it over for Jesse.
Martin Lawrence, just a brilliant drive. Martin, anybody you want to shout out before we go?
Well, obviously for all to all that supports me, which is all of my teams. I'm driving under Connectionless Racing, but obviously in the RCI Esports. Shout out to them because Seb is part of the RCI Esports, and he's providing those setups. So all the sponsors and everybody is included in these setups and championships. Obviously to you and to the stewards. Who I just watched the replay of Start One. Well, that was something. So yeah, shout out to everyone who is doing this championship and providing us this sort of fun, and you guys as commentators. Phenomenal job. Oh yeah, thank to all.
Special shout out to Nearly on Pace as well, working in tight conjunction with all of those groups as well. Martin Lawrence won 3 in a row. He'll go for 4 at Imola next week. We'll be live again on Wednesday for the continuation of the Mazda MX-5 Cup in iRacing. Daytona Road Course, we're heading to the beach. We'll be live with you then. I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Dan Van Zudva and Stewie behind the cameras. On behalf of everyone here at RCI staff, we thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, and following on the various platforms. We'll see you again live on Wednesday. We'll be here for Imola in 1 week's time for the continuation of this championship. And until then, everyone, have a good night.